want to talk to you today about surrender. And that's actually a first step to finding the true will of God. And the first scripture I want to share with you, it's from Romans. And the point being, and it goes like this, is from chapter 12 and verse 1 and 2. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is a reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So it clearly shows that first we present ourselves as a living sacrifice. And that sounds quite awful in a sense that sacrifice is something that is getting consumed, getting burned. And most of the people who like are getting saved and believe God and say like, oh Lord, I want to do your will. I want to do everything what you want me to do and things like that. But it's first step to present yourself, and it says it's a reasonable service. So and it doesn't seem to sound nice. Now, surrender can be in multiple ways. Surrender certain ideas how our life should look like, surrendering how like surrendering control over our own life, surrendering um, pretty much anything. Uh, I think that the main thing that we need to surrender is actually plans, plans for our own lives. We had some kind of idea when we, from the children, we saw our parents, teachers, we heard something, saw some videos, saw some movies, read some stories, and we got some idea how we would like our lives to look like. Or we just trudge along and we just catch on stuff what was around us. So either way, all that has to be surrendered, and that needs to be completely given up and given to God actually. And then God gives His plans to you. And when His plans uh, comes to you, it's going to be much better than you could ever conceive of your own. But at the beginning, to give away your own plans, it feels like dying. It feels like crucifying to the flesh. And it feels really awful. It feels counterproductive. Why would you want to do something to forfeit your life? So the flesh would say like, don't do it. Like you're gonna destroy. You're gonna live miserable life, and it's gonna be awful. But that's not true. That's just flesh, and that's the enemy that tries to convince that. The truth that God's plans is so much better, so much bigger, so much greater, and they're actually amazing. Like for instance, for my life, I um, got married, moved to Finland from Lithuania, originally from Lithuania, and at the beginning I had no idea what I'm gonna do. I just knew God wanted us to like move to Finland. All my plans, all the ideas was like sort of taken out when I was in school or even in university. I started seeing that one of the hobbies, like it was actually dancing. I really enjoyed it. It was sort of like Latino dancing and all that stuff. And I saw myself I could go, maybe to Latin America and do stuff like that. And I enjoy all the rhythms and things like that of that nature. But when I got saved, I surrendered all that to God and got married. And happens to be that my wife doesn't know how to dance at all, so that was also interesting. And so I surrendered all the ideas that I would ever thought I could do or be, and then God gave a new ones. So when we came to Finland, God's plans for my future was induced upon me, and the new course uh, of life was established in the Spirit with the Lord, but I had to surrender. And not only it's sometimes people think like, oh, it's a one-time decision, but actually we have to surrender daily. There's another Bible passage which is from Luke 9:23, which reads like this: And he said to them all, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. So the key word here is daily. And the point being, something about daily that is every day. Now, how does that can look practically, that surrender to the Lord? So, for instance, you wake up in the morning and you have full of ideas what your day should look like, and it could be just saying, Lord, it's your day, it's what you want. I myself, like, I lay down on the floor. Actually, I literally lay down on the floor. So, like, uh, and I'm laying there with my hands under my chest, actually, and I pray to the Lord that I surrender. And it's very interesting that His strength, His ideas come to me. Sometimes even sense of rest comes upon me. Sometimes new ideas that I didn't thought about comes upon me. And sometimes I don't, it feels like in the flesh I wouldn't want to go and sort of surrender all my thoughts, all my ideas, because I like to think. I like my head like spinning and coming with new ideas and feel like I'm smart or something or whatever. But the idea I like when the thoughts coming and flowing. But then I feel like, okay, I should surrender that. And the flesh doesn't want to do that. But when I surrender, I'm induced with the things from heaven. So God gives a big plans, let's say like big plan, and it requires to surrender your whole life, right? So you surrender your life and you got this big plan. But then it's kind of like segmented in multiple sections. Of course, it's way more if you think about your whole life in one square. Let's say it would represent one day. So then you accomplish, like for instance, here you surrender. So and here it gets accomplished. Here you surrender something partly, so partly something gets done. So some people, like when they follow God, they might follow partly some days, and some days they don't. So then the life might look quite like um, not necessarily complete, or certain things are not getting done because certain details are, well, for instance, here didn't get accomplished or here didn't accomplished because here it wasn't surrendered. And that's uh, where we get the problems, because we didn't surrender completely daily. Even though we kind of surrendered the whole thing, we got some kind of idea or plan, or but we didn't surrender completely. Like for instance, in Abraham's time, he surrendered to the Lord and said, like, the Lord said to him, go and walk, and I will give you the land, like a promised land. The problem being is that he didn't left completely his father or his brother-in-law, Lot. Not brother, actually, it was his son-in-law, I think he was Lot. For the Lot, he was uncle, so I guess nephew. So, and when he went together and they didn't separate right away, it took time. And when they finally separated, Abraham got the promise of the promised land and said, like, this is going to be your land and all this, all these things. But then Lot got into trouble. Then Abraham had to like rescue him. So that it caused all the extra problem that it would have never happened if he would have surrendered to the Lord every single day. Then also God promised him a child. So then his wife suggested go into Hagar to get a child through her. So then they try to operate in the flesh. So the problem also, it can be that we can, if you don't surrender every day, some days we can think like, oh, this is God's plan. I want to sort of like accomplish it. So let's do something of our own and induce this thing like here. But then it creates a problem inside of the God's plan, because this thing eventually will need to be removed, and that can cause lots of pain. And many times, um, the pain that we have It's actually self-induced, because we ourselves induce some of the ideas into God's plan. But then when we surrender, those things have to be removed, because God doesn't receive any glory. God doesn't give any glory. He receives all of it to himself. So it has to be pure, and then it will need to be purified. So many times when we see certain mess in our life, is because we haven't surrendered daily. We surrender from time to time, but if you surrender daily, things will go actually way smoother. And of course, flesh doesn't like it, but in the end, it will be way better and purer fruits as well. And that's all I wanted to share about surrender and how it functions in daily use. Be blessed.